I'm here with Kirsten Wise, the Mayor of Napier, and we're discussing the proposed 23.7 rates increase. Now, one thing you mentioned yesterday, Kirsten, at the meeting was the issue of CCOs and maybe establishing a council-controlled organisation. Tell us what that is and what do you propose, how would you propose a CCO working for Napier City Council?
So one of the things that we are consulting on is to set up a CCTO, which is a council-controlled trading organisation.
Okay, yeah.
There are a few councils around the country that already have a CCTO set up. And essentially it's an entity whereby we could transfer the management of, not the ownership, but the management of some of our assets so that they could manage those with more of a commercial lens. So, for example, we could transfer something like Ocean Spa, which is a top-end aquatic facility, into that entity for them to, like I said, look at it with a commercial perspective, and it takes away the politics, which of course are an inevitable part of the decision making of a council. Another example of what you might transfer into there is the remainder of our land holdings in parklands. So they could sit within the CCTO and there could be more of that a purist property developer lens put across that. And ultimately, the end goal is that you maximize the revenue that you're generating out of these assets, and that revenue is paid back via a dividend, for want of a better description, to the council, and ultimately offsets rates. So it's about maximising our assets for the benefit of the community.
Some may say that you'll increase the bureaucracy because obviously a CCTO would need a chief executive, it would need a board, and as you mentioned, it's difficult to attract high quality staff without paying them the salaries. And these days we know what a chief executive can cost, upwards of 350,000, so are you not sort of spending more money to try and make a little bit more?
We've crunched the numbers, and we're confident that the end result will definitely be better for us. And there are a couple of councils around the country that have been doing this for a significant period of time and very successfully. And so their CCTO each year pay millions and millions of dollars back to the council. So we know that it can work if it's set up properly. And once we get the feedback from our community through this 3-year plan as to whether we should be progressing with this, we're definitely committed to ensuring that we set it up to succeed if we do proceed.
Another thing that you might find people will say is it sort of moving away from transparency and democracy? Because the whole point about council is that you're open and transparent. And if you've got a CCTO operating, that could be quite secretive. What do you have to say about that?
I definitely think we would still retain the open, transparent nature that we have, an obligation and a legislative requirement to meet. One example at the moment is that we currently, the Hawke's Bay Airport is a council-controlled organisation. We're one of the major shareholders, and there is requirements in place to ensure that there's transparency around the Hawke's Bay Airport via us. We enter into a statement of intent arrangement every year, and that's a publicly available document to outline what that organisation's plans and intentions are for the year, which we have to sign off on. And all of their reporting comes through to us and then is released publicly. So any CCTO entity would have exactly those same requirements that are in place for us for currently with the Hawke's Bay Airport or any other CCO.
Are you confident as Mayor that the next rates rise will be far less than this proposed one?
So yes, we have forecast out 10 years. based on obviously our capital program and ongoing operating costs. And from memory, year 2 and 3 at the moment are both sitting around that 9-10%. So I appreciate that is still high, particularly in comparison to if you looked at our track record over the last 20 years. But again, it is recognising that what we've been rating for the last 20 years has simply been inadequate, and we are in catch-up mode.
Now, as you know, being an elected official, mayors and councillors are re-elected or kicked out on the basis of rate rises. Are you confident that you've got this right and that we'll be seeing you, if you wanted to, being elected again for another term?
I'm confident that we're doing the right thing. And at the end of the day, if that means that I'm not re-elected, well, so be it. Because the reality is we can't continue to do what we've been doing for such a long time, because it won't benefit anybody. So I'm incredibly proud of my whole council, because we are all putting our neck on the line, as you say. Rates rises are the things that get you re-elected or not re-elected. And we all know that. But we're prepared to go ahead with this proposal anyway, because, as I said, we know it's the right thing to do.
So making the hard choices, the hard decisions. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, Kirsten Wise, thank you so much for your time. I do appreciate it, and we'll be in touch on the subject in the future, I'm sure.
I'm sure that we'll have a lot of talk about it over the next little while.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Andrew.